There we go.
4th of July. Hopefully you got to start. Are we good?
We're good. You're muted.
Hopefully
there
you got
right
to
away.
start the week or the day. Man, oh man, technical dip. That's what happens after the 4th of July. So we were up late and we were lighting off fireworks and this is what happened. So
the internet was up
Jason
late,
Walgrave here
right?
with Walgrave Real Estate. The internet was up late, so it's tired.
Watching fireworks all night long. Didn't get to work on time this morning. Now it's trying to catch up. You know what I mean? It just
hasn't had its coffee.
Right?
Yes. It's a tough
Dump a little coffee on your computer there, Walgrave. Get that thing going.
It's coffee. I definitely have my caffeine this morning, that's for sure.
Mike, this is for you.
So I'm Jason Walgrave here with Walgrave Real Estate Group and the Minnesota Real Estate team at RE/MAX. We got Mortgage Mike Overson with Illuminate Home Loans. Of course, Marcus Walgrave with Hague Realtors. What was that cup? Put that up again there, Marcus.
This is for Mike, since he's the
Let's see that cup again, Marcus.
Slayer.
This is for Mike.
Causes hook and mouth disease.
Yes, that's good stuff right there.
You guys are pulling the plug,
so
aren't you?
I'm sure many of you know.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got a special guest today on the show, Matt Eichmann with Abra Kadabra Environmental Services. We're going to be talking about all things pest related and pest control related. And I definitely, Matt, appreciate you coming on the show today. So
yeah, thanks, Jason. Super excited to be here.
Middle of the week, day after the 4th. Were you up late? What time did you go to bed?
I go to bed pretty early because I got stuff to do in the morning. So I think it's probably about 10. But I got kids that like to crawl into bed sometimes, so you got to kick them out periodically. So
yeah, we can appreciate that for sure. I'm usually in bed by like 9. You know, I mean, I like 9 o'clock.
Sun's still up then.
You're still up, but I'm up at 4 typically, so that that's the reason for that. But last night, man, it was a late one for me. It was midnight, so this was I got to mark it on the calendar. I know.
It's funny.
So we all Matt, how many kids you guys have?
I've got 3 kids, 6, 3, and 6 months.
So we've got so collectively between the 4 of us here, what do we got? We got 6 and 4. We got like 16 kids between the 4 of us on the show today. So
good average.
Nice.
Pretty good. Yeah,
the baseball like team 4. Right there.
You know, Elon Musk is worried about world population, so we're just trying to please him, I guess.
Just trying to do our part. Just trying to do our part, right?
This one's for you, Elon.
And then Matt, we talked about Evan just a little bit. He's our producer. He's the one that makes this thing happen every week. He is our insurance guru. He knows everything insurance related, and he's also always open and willing to watch the kids. And so he's got a really good drop off. You don't even have to call. You can just show up,
nice, drop
off the kids, and then pick them up whenever you want to. Did that change? Did your hours change, Evan?
You keep dropping kids off, and I keep saying, Evan, no, this isn't allowed. This isn't allowed.
No, don't touch. Yeah, right. All right, Matt, tell me a little bit. Well, first of all, your company name. So you were the founder.
Not the founder. My father-in-law is the founder. I'm the CEO currently. Yeah.
The CEO. You're running it. You're the boss. You're running the ship.
Yes, sir.
Where does the name come from, Abra Kadabra?
It's a great question. First of all, I'm a little biased, but it's a fantastic name, I think, for pest control. But I didn't come up with it actually. So, like I said, my father-in-law started the company after working for their local competitor about 20 years ago now. And back then, the main marketing was Yellow Pages, right? So they're trying, like, there's triple A Pests and AAA and all these different A's. But my current wife and her sisters at the time kind of through some sort of think tank, if you will, came up with Abra Kadabra. And yeah, kind of just grew from there. But that's like one of the things in the business right now that I didn't it didn't come from me. It's from the first, it was the 1.0 version of Abra Kadabra, and we've evolved a little bit over the course of the almost 2 decades we've been in business. So yeah, it's really exciting.
It's a great name. I mean, it certainly is very catchy, and so I like the name. Tell me a little bit about your company. How it's structured, how many folks you have working for you, and just the services and the service area that you cover.
Okay, so we're second generation pest and wildlife control company. One thing that's pretty unique about us is we've grown incredibly fast in the last 6 years since I took over. We're at about 20 people, and when I took over, it was just my father-in-law and myself in 2017. So we've grown really quickly, got a great team. We have 2 separate divisions, Pest Control, which is kind of typical, just routine maintenance services. That's the business that I purchased from my father-in-law, taking care of ants, mice, stinging insects, those type of things. After taking over the company, I kind of just started adding a bunch of stuff because I was very young. I was looking to grow and expand and saw opportunities in the market. So a few things that we did to grow were add mosquito and tick service to solve that problem for our customers. But then we really kind of went all in on wildlife removal, which is like larger animals, bats, raccoons, squirrels, and the repairs that go along with that. And that's kind of become its own division at this point. So we've got a wildlife team, a pest control team who also does the mosquito and tick work. And then we've got a sales team in the office and management that kind of helps all the balls stay up in the air.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? You need an outstanding administrative team to make it all happen and make it all work. So
and a lot of processes and just delivering a consistent experience to the customer, that we when we do look to make changes as we grow, we can make a change across the board and it affects all the customers instead of just one customer because Bob does the service that way. So the standard procedures we have really help us deliver a certain standard of excellence to our customers that, that's what they're really looking for.
Yeah, people are, and we do, we do the same thing. We want to provide this, world-class real estate experience for every single client that we work with. And so, one of the things I've noticed with your company is that the communication is superior. I mean, it is incredible. You're utilizing, Matt, I've been really impressed. And so the email, text, the calls, just the follow-up reminder on when the appointment is, and, have your questions been answered, and, the estimate, everything is just, it's really next level stuff when you're talking about the service industry in general. I can't tell you how many times.
That's super kind of you to say. I think we still got some tinkering we can do to make it a little better, but we really try to leverage technology a lot to deliver the best possible customer experience. And oftentimes with what we're doing and what we're applying, the customer needs to know there has to be a real open line of communication so that we can do what we need to do to solve the problem that the customer has.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys can all attest to this. How many times have you called a service professional or company, and maybe you got a call back, maybe you didn't, or maybe they did call you back and they said, oh yeah, let me get back to you, I'll get you an estimate over, in the next couple of days. and then it's 2 weeks later and you still didn't hear back from them. I mean, that breakdown in communication from a service providing company to to the client is, I mean, I think it happens more as far as the communication breakdown. It happens more than it doesn't, and so that was a breath of fresh air for me, Matt, when kind of the process started that way with great communication. And then I think I called you, I don't know, a month and a half ago, and I said, Matt, how are the ticks this year? What's the tick population like this year? And you're like, man, terrible. This is like the worst it's been in like 300 years or something. And but it is. It's the worst that I ever remember it. I mean, ticks everywhere. Ticks on my kids. Ticks on my dog. Ticks all over the place. And so, so then you told me about a service that you guys provide, which is tick and mosquito prevention. And so so you guys came out. You've been out twice now in the last probably month or so, and I haven't seen a single tick, and I have not gotten bit by a mosquito. I don't think my kids have gotten bit by any while they were at home, and so that's been pretty fantastic. It's just having the relief.
Yeah, it's kind of a game changer in Minnesota. Last year we got kind of lucky because we had a little bit of a drought, wasn't a lot of mosquito action going on, but this year it came back with a vengeance, and really they've demonstrated how they got their name for being the Minnesota state bird. I mean, we've only got so much time outside in Minnesota when it's warm to really enjoy our yards and all that, and mosquitoes can wreck that really quickly. My daughter got bit a couple of weeks ago, and she got these massive welts. Like, I hope that doesn't happen moving forward, because she's gonna have a tough go at it in Minnesota. But that's kind of one of the those pests that people really feel it on a day-to-day basis. So when we added that service, it's because the customers, we were taking care of their ants and wasps. They also had these other issues, and we really want to solve as many problems for our customer as possible, even ones that they don't know that are there. So we're always looking to provide as much value as possible and just have really authentic communications and relationships with our customers, because we're coming into their home, which is like supposed to be their place of comfort and peace, right? And what happens is these pests come in and it just like completely interrupts that, and we get people calling us with extremely high stress levels all the time, and we got to take that and kind of go through some type of alchemy and get it to this like happy place where now we got you covered, not just for this one time, but you don't have to worry about it. If it pops up again, just let us know. We'll come out and get it taken care of.
Matt, you have a nice website, abrakadabraenvironmental.com. It's the first time I visited. I think you're welcome. I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, so unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to reach out to you guys for your services, but your website, is very user friendly. I mean, when I went on there, the first thing I was wondering was like, okay, well, what services do they provide? What type of insects or bugs or creatures do they kind of service? And obviously ticks and mosquitoes are kind of a hot topic, if you're in the Midwest, but when you kind of look at the animals, and I live in a cul-de-sac, and it backs up to like a drainage valley, and my backyard has some good slope, especially in the like the back third, and it's just overrun by those 13 lined ground squirrels. So when you kind of look at some of those, little things, right? Little things about a property. I mean, obviously, bats and raccoons. I mean, I know the amount of damage that they can cause into an attic, but there's just the little things too, or like the voles, ripping up your side, and the snow finally melts. And you're like, no, my lawn, what happened to it?
Yeah, pest control is really one of those things that, I mean, the damage is there, and that's kind of logical to think through. But one of the things that's like kind of unique, I think, is that just the fact that it's happening, it steals like our time, right? So people who that's not their area of expertise, but they have a mouse issue now, instead of going and being with their kids, they're going out on the boat, they're trying to solve this mouse issue, and it takes them 4 hours of frustration and however much their time is worth, right? Like they can't get that back. So like the level of expertise that we have, I mean, we take away some people's funds sometimes because they don't get to trap mice, but it solves the problem really easy, and we try to make it smooth so that it just feels like magic.
Abra Kadabra.
Yeah, exactly.
So Matt, I kind of got a specialty pest issue at my place. So I have this neighbor. I have this neighbor across the street and a couple doors down. It's a real pain in my butt, right? You got any solutions for that type of pest at all?
And so there's a few things that we don't take care of. In-laws, neighbors, teenage kids.
Okay.
So those are excluded from our list of services. But I mean, as far as like bugs or wildlife go, we've really developed this unique niche where a lot of other companies, they kind of draw the line somewhere where they don't go on the ladder, so they can't help you take care of that. Well, the consumer doesn't really understand that. They have a squirrel and they think, I need a pest control professional out here. I can't do this. I need a pro. So they look for pest companies, and a lot of times those pest companies aren't doing that. They don't have the equipment or insurances necessary to be able to perform that service and do it at the level where they can solve the problem. And we've kind of created this niche where we do that at a really high level, actually world class, where we actually consult with other companies across the country and just help them kind of improve their processes. Because the wildlife being there is really just a symptom of a bigger solution or a bigger problem, which is the hole or the void or the missing vent cap that the animal is using to get into the structure. That's where we get brought in on a lot of real estate transactions. Home inspector goes in, does an attic inspection. He sees there's something in the attic. Everything's mice to them, so they call it mice. And now we're getting brought in to a real estate transaction where the fact of the matter is 95% of homes have mice in Minnesota. It's just a matter of if you can find where that activity is going and how long it's been going on for. So, I mean, speaking from experience, I'm pretty sure the last thing a realtor or a listing agent wants to have happen is have to bring another vendor into the mix to have them solve a problem during that process, because there's enough stuff you got to do and boxes you got to check. So as far as the purchasing process, like we've got to work around that quite a bit and really make sure that that person buying the home understands what's going to come along with that, because there's not a lot of pest-free homes. So it's just that level of, okay, so this is here. What do we do to take care of that?
Yep.
Go ahead.
I assume it's a common practice for cities. I know in Sioux Falls, the city itself will try to time like a mosquito hatch, and then they'll drive around with their big trucks and bomb, the neighborhoods. But I think Matt, you mentioned earlier in the show that, I mean, if it's something where that you have a specific event, maybe it's a graduation or a wedding, and you're going to have a couple hundred people outside. Just having that peace of mind of saying, sure, I mean, the city might do some general, major hatch bombings, but this specific weekend, I would like to, increase my chances of having, very little or to none bug problems, and it sounds like that, that's what you guys can offer too, not just as like a routine, seasonally routine, but events specific, dates specific.
Yeah, so for the mosquito and tick, that's definitely something that we offer. We have quite a few accounts with like wedding venues and stuff like that, because a lot of that's outside spaces. And I mean, mosquitoes can become the topic of the whole party really quickly, and that can take away from whatever event's going on. So getting out there a couple days ahead of time and doing an application will definitely help decrease the activity that you're having. We found the best result for those places is to just do it year round. But I mean, grad parties, birthday parties, 4th of July parties, any kind of party you can think of that somebody's going to have a barbecue or something. But we work around that, and it does take some tiptoeing with the weather because that impacts our ability to do what we got to do. So logistically, it's not always as easy on this end as we try to make it feel on your end, Jason.
Yeah. Well, what's the largest animal that you've removed from a house?
I mean, it's got to be a raccoon. We've done some beaver work and like dead animal removal, like roadkill type stuff in the past, but raccoons is really the one. I mean, that's like it sounds like there's a teenage kid running around in your attic when you got a raccoon in your house, right? So a lot of times we get people calling us. They think it's a raccoon because it's in the attic. There's insulation and then the sheetrock, and a lot of times mice will get in right under the insulation, and it creates like this speaker where all the sound is kind of coming into the home. So they call us thinking it's a raccoon. They're certain of it, but really it ends up being mice. Raccoons are they're the easiest ones to figure out. Okay, this is how they're getting in, because I mean there's like a 4-inch hole they can fit in.
Right.
But people kind of misidentify what's going on in their attic or home pretty often, and especially the degree of the activity. And with something like your attic that's supposed to help with energy management and making sure you don't get ice dams and all that, having a good attic system working for you is really important for the health of your home long term. And so you can kind of prevent some of that damage down the road. So we have to learn a lot about all the building structures and stuff to understand how to do what we got to do to make sure that the animals don't get in, but still make sure that the home can function how it needs to. So,
and would you say would you say that newer homes have less pest control issues than older homes?
Just different pest control issues, right? So it's like what's the level, like what's that minimum level of acceptance that person has, and it's going to be different for everybody. Like I've found in some of the newer developments, wildlife typically isn't the big issue.
Sure.
It's usually more like, I mean, these brand new builds, they'll come into a cornfield, make a whole bunch of foundations, and then they're like those ants that were there in that cornfield, now they're underneath that house and they're coming up. So ants, stinging insects, and then like lady Asian beetles and box elders. That's what'll happen a lot on those newer developments. And then after the freeze thaw cycle that we have here in the Midwest, the home's going to expand and contract, and over time and weathering, that's when newer holes start to open up and wildlife can come in. But the fact of the matter is the wildlife industry exists greatly because builders aren't perfect, right? There's little gaps here, and they think about water running downhill because that's how gravity works. But animals can kind of go against that and enter into different voids that maybe aren't an issue for water, but over time, if an animal finds that in the middle of the winter when it's -20, it's a little more comfortable to live in an attic that's heated than it is in a tree outside, right? And that's kind of the evolution that these animals have gone through. I mean, pest control is an old industry, like hundreds of years old. Wildlife is, like, as an industry, it's less than 50 years old, really. Kind of came from the fur trapping trade and slowly developed into, like, it's going to be a trade pretty soon. There's associations that's building around that. So
that's awesome.
That was a tangent. Awesome. I don't know how I got to that.
No, that was good. That's fantastic info. So, Matt, how can people get a hold of you? What's the best way for them to get in contact with you? Tell us a little bit about that.
So, I mean, give us a call on our main phone number, 763-537-0330, or check us out on our website's really good, abrakadabraenvironmental.com, but we're really active on social media and try to really be part of the communities that we serve and support the different local events that are going on there. So our social media, Facebook, I think it's Abra Kadabra Environmental, something like that. Any of those, reach out to us, email us. There's a lot of different ways to get in touch with us, but really it's trying to think proactively for these homeowners and try to not have it always be a scramble. This time of year is really busy, so thinking ahead, these things are actually really predictable. So an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and it saves a lot of time. So
absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned the community involvement that you guys have, because I've been watching that on your social media for the last couple months as well. And you guys are involved a lot in the community, a lot of give back, a lot of, free events for, families and, which I always really appreciate. I think it's so important to stay
every parent
connected.
does.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We're having another round. Let's grab the kids.
Kids are out of school for the summer. You got to find stuff for them to do.
Yes, right.
We try to have those relationships be more than just that transaction, right? Like, you're a human, I'm a human. You can buy pest control from me, but at the end of the day, if they just know who you are, and when they do enter the market at some point, then hopefully they choose you because they know you care about them. And that's, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Yeah,
man. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
well, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Go
ahead, Marcus.
I was just gonna say, I see that you service both residential and commercial. Again, just referencing your guys' website. I think one thing when you think about like getting rid of bugs or wildlife, it's that natural. If you have natural treatment options, whether some individuals might be sensitive to certain things like children or whatever, and it looks like you guys offer natural treatments as well.
Yeah, we do. We have a full green kind of treatment protocol option for those customers that are looking for that. And that's a growing percentage of the population. But at the end of the day, pest control is really more about a process than a product. Because if you follow a lot of these procedural kind of routine maintenance things, we can avoid a lot of the need to use chemicals and pesticides and really stay in front of that. Because that's kind of like the nuclear, like, gotta come in and use a pesticide that has a residual, right? It's designed to eliminate something, but we don't want that in our home or business. So we try to minimize that as much as possible, and then when we have to use it, just use the least environmentally impactful products, because there's options. You got to know the options.
Yeah. Yeah, options are good. Well, Matt, we appreciate you coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you so much, gentlemen.
We'd love to have you back on here in the near future, and I thank you for what you're doing, helping us out, and we are essentially tick and mosquito free the last month, and I'm very pleased about that.
Good to hear.
So Jason, no more tick pictures.
No. So I should probably send it. When I send you the text,
the last one was quite swollen.
I don't think you ever sent me that picture, dude.
All right, I gotta send you. It was one that I found on my dog, and that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, right? And this thing was, I mean, it wasn't as big as a grape, but it kind of felt like it was as big as a grape. I mean, it was massive.
They just look like they're gonna pop.
It looked like it was gonna pop. I mean, it was how I missed it, because that had been on there for I don't know how long it takes to get that big, but it was of course it grossed out my wife, and then my daughters, they thought it was gross. My boys thought it was super cool. They wanted to play with it, but but I appreciate you coming on, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Folks, we appreciate everyone tuning in today. Best way to find us anytime during the week is our website, ushometalk.com. Very excited that it's now launched. We've been up and running the new design, folks, we are definitely, we have made it to a different level of technology on our website. The past one was, it was a little archaic. So the best way to find us is our website. Yes, vintage. Yeah, so best way to find us is our website, ushometalk.com. We do have a real estate hotline number. You can connect with all of us, any of our fantastic partners at 612-234-7585. Again, that's a text and call number. You can call or text anytime. We'll get you to the right folks. 612-234-7585. And folks, hope you had a great 4th. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll be back next Wednesday.